hardware and software. Given AuraPortal's high adaptability to any work structure, users can adapt their infrastructure to any scenario, from the simplest to any scalable distribution that supports even the most demanding workloads. So what I'm trying to say here is that we can actually start small and we can start growing in the future depending on our needs. Okay, so let's say it was 2014 where the company started and they actually were a small company, they didn't have so many users, and they just had to automate 3 or 4 or 10 different processes. When it came to 2015, they had to grow, more users, more processes, more automation. The same thing happened in 2016, and when it came to 2017, they had to decide it's time to change. They have to scale up their infrastructure. So initially, we can start with something very basic as what we're showing you here in this graphical representation. It's just a connection of a user who's accessing with their device, their browser, their internet connection. That's all users need in order to access the application. The application is published via internet, and it's all installed in one unique server that also contains the database. Okay, so we have everything here in this server. This server has to have Windows Server installed, it has to have AuraPortal installed, and besides it needs to have an SQL database here in the server. Okay, so this is enough to get our company up and running and have automated processes. Obviously, it's not the most recommended option. Okay, the minimum recommendation would be to have the database on a separate server. Okay, so something like this. So here we'd have the application server and here we have the database server. Why is this recommended? Because lots of times we want to make copies of the database and we don't need to make copies of the application. So our database can grow and grow and grow. And when we make copies of the application server, the copy is probably going to be a very similar size. Maybe it's going to increase a little bit, but not as much as the database. So sometimes for technical reasons, it's much more convenient to have the database in a separate server. Obviously, this could scale up, as it says here, horizontally, vertically, and throughout the presentation, we're going to see different ways of doing it. Okay, so here we have another example. This is probably a larger company who already needs a load balancer because maybe they've got a lot of requests. Let's say they've got a website where they offer their services, and on a daily basis, they get hundreds of requests. Okay, so they also have a load balancer, which sends these requests to the server with less stress. Okay, and then here we have maybe dedicated servers for the database, dedicated servers for SQL or for other systems like SharePoint for document management, or disk arrays for storage. And this company even has a server for their reports. Okay, so maybe they have a lot of reports and there's a lot of people that are interacting with these reports on a daily basis. So they've decided to have the report server separately. And finally here they also have a disk array for file system to store documentation. Okay, as we can see here, this company has scaled up quite a bit from the first scenario we showed. So although we already have an infrastructure requirement and recommendation guide, you can request the support department or an experienced technical consultant to help you at any moment. Okay, so if you're trying to decide what type of server you need, with what type of processor and anything like this, we can always send you our recommendations, or you guys can just check this document we have on the knowledge base.